What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Crime Circuit. Today, we're going to be traveling to Nocona, Texas, and we're going to be speaking on the missing case of Caleb Diehl, a teenager who borrowed his boss's car and was never seen again. Make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe. This is Crime Circuit, and I'm Diehl. Let's dive into the case. Caleb is described by his family as adventurous and fearless. In interviews with the media, Caleb's mother Tammy smiles fondly and laughs, sharing that Caleb will climb everything while being afraid of nothing. Growing up as the youngest of four siblings, Courtney, one of Caleb's sisters, says that Caleb was a mama's boy, but he never acted like he was the baby. Caleb also did everything he could to keep up with his older brothers and sisters, like riding dirt bikes at a very young age. The family also shares that Caleb was also incredibly thoughtful and that he gave the best gifts. At 18 years old, at the time of his disappearance, Caleb had a typical independent communication style with his family. They say he didn't need to share every little bit of detail about his day-to-day with the family, so it wasn't uncommon for a few days to stretch by before everyone caught up again. Early on, the Diehl family grew close to a neighboring family, the Howards. The Diehl family recounts the Howard boys were around the same age as the two Diehl boys, and so the families grew close and connected. They even vacationed together. Caleb was interested in the Howard family properties considering they were cattle farmers. So, while in the middle of school, Ricky Dale Howard, the father of the family, hired Caleb to do odd jobs around the farm. At the time, the Diehl family was all entirely unaware of Ricky's checkered past. Ricky Dale Howard was 53 years old. The two families had vacationed together, and their families had all got along fine. Caleb worked for Howard, who had many properties and had interest in cattle farming, so him driving the vehicle owned by Howard was normal enough. Diehl said that most days he could be found with his friends, the Howard brothers. Our two sons were the same age as her two sons, so it seemed to work out for us to do things together. As Caleb got older, he routinely helped Ricky check on various land leases and work his herd of cattle. Caleb would be last seen at his mother's house around 5 p.m. on Sunday, March 29, 2015. His sister Courtney told Caleb that he needed to be home that evening so he wouldn't miss any more school. Caleb was a senior and couldn't afford to miss any more classes otherwise. It would jeopardize his chances of graduating. At the time, Caleb's truck was in need of repair. Therefore, he had borrowed Ricky Dale Howard's truck because his was in the shop. According to Caleb's cell phone records, his phone mysteriously stopped working the last night he was seen, and all of his social media accounts also went quiet. 2 days later, on Tuesday, April 1st, 2015, Caleb's mother Tammy got a call from the school counselor stating that Caleb was not present that day. However, at this time, Tammy had just assumed he skipped school, but promised the counselor that she would talk to her son. That evening, Caleb didn't return home. But the family didn't worry just yet because Caleb lived with his sister in Grapevine, and it was common for them not to see each other because of their work schedules. By Wednesday morning, Tammy started calling around Caleb's friends, including Christian, who Caleb said he was hanging around out on Monday. Strangely enough, Christian told Tammy that he and Caleb did not actually have plans that day because Christian was out of town. That afternoon, Tammy would file a missing persons report for her son Caleb. Tammy contacted Howard to let him know that Caleb was missing and that the police would be calling for the license plate of the Champaign Chevy 2500 for the police report. Tammy never spoke to Howard. Instead, she left a message, but when Howard returned Tammy's call, she was informed by Howard that his truck was at his place of business. When authorities went to Howard's place of business, they found the truck was parked and the keys had been returned into their usual spot. Howard did cooperate with authorities and let him search his vehicle and property. Law enforcement found 3 $100 bills zip-tied to the steering wheel. A smashed cell phone was found on the floor of Howard's garage, but Howard told police he threw it away. It wasn't long before law enforcement assessed Howard's sex offender treatment notes, where the therapist informed officers that Howard was a very, very smart man who tried to manipulate the test. The therapists also informed law enforcement that there was no question in the professional opinion that Howard had a sexual interest in underage men. Howard has a long record involving multiple counts of bank fraud from when he was a manager at a First National Bank. In 2007, he was convicted of bank fraud when documents were discovered that overstated the number of cattle Howard had owned for loan collateral applications. This led investigators to uncover allegations of sexual assault among 5 young teens. According to court documents, it is believed he had access to the victims as a direct result of his position as a manager, where he even granted their families loans. Howard claims he suffered an electrocution injury, which he had memory loss, and he told his lawyer he had no recollection of being a banker. In 2006, a polygraph was administered and revealed strong deception. On April 11, 2015, police executed a warrant to search Howard's property where they discovered Howard owned firearms, which is illegal because he was a convicted felon. There were 3 charges brought against Howard. He was arrested on May 18th of 2015, but released on a $4,000 bond. During this same time, authorities found a fire pit that contained the remains of 3 computer towers that belonged to Howard. When asked, he claimed they belonged to his deceased parents. In December of 2015, Howard is arrested again on 4 charges of aggravated sexual assault of a child involving 2 males. These individuals came forward with allegations from 1996 to 2000. One of the victims was only 13 years old at the time. By January 12th of 2016, there were 2 more complaints of aggravated sexual assault after another victim came forward. He was 12 years old at the time. The next day, he posts bond. By June 29th of 2016, Howard pleaded guilty to 11 counts of unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon and was sentenced to 5 years in prison, which he is to be served concurrently. Howard is still denying any allegations of sexual assault brought against him. In 2017, the Diehl family found evidence against Howard. While Tammy was cleaning out a bathroom closet, she found an alarm clock with a hidden camera, several handwritten notes, and a small handheld recorder. The recorder contained audio of Ricky asking himself polygraph questions pertaining to his sexual interest in young boys. The handwritten notes included details about these questions. Where the case stands today, currently, Ricky Dale Howard has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for sexual exploitation of a minor. In July of 2021, Howard did plead guilty to the charges. However, there have been no arrests or charges in connection with Caleb's disappearance. Caleb's case remains unsolved and no remains have ever been found. Many believe that if Howard's other victims came forward, it could result in a stronger charge and possibly one step closer to Caleb's justice.